Hey gardening friends, ready to grow healthier plants, bigger harvests, and smarter gardens? Let's get started.
What if the most valuable thing in your kitchen right now is something you have been throwing in the trash every single summer? What if one small habit change, starting today, could give you a fruit tree that feeds your family for the next 30 or 40 years, completely free of charge? Welcome to The Smart Gardener. If you want to grow more, spend less, and actually understand what is happening in your own backyard, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications so you never miss a video that could change the way you garden. Here is the truth that most people never discover. Every time you bite into a ripe summer peach, finish a bowl of sweet cherries, or slice open a plum, the pit you are about to throw away is not waste. It is a complete, living, genetically programmed fruit tree, sitting right there in your hand, ready to grow, costing you absolutely nothing. In this video, I am going to walk you through the exact process that turns any stone fruit pit into a growing tree that actually produces fruit, including one technique involving something that lives underground that most growing guides have never once mentioned, and it makes a bigger difference than almost anything else you can do at planting time. Before we get into the steps, I want to take a moment to explain what is actually happening inside that pit, because once you understand this, everything else will make complete sense, and you will never make the mistake that kills most people's attempts before they even get started. Inside every stone fruit pit, whether it is a peach, a plum, a cherry, an apricot, or an almond, there is a fully formed embryo, a tiny, dormant, living plant. These fruits all belong to the same plant family, and every single one of them carries inside its seed all the genetic information it needs to grow into a full-sized, fruit-bearing tree. The pit is not the end of something. It is the beginning. So why do nearly all first-time growers fail? It is not poor soil. It is not bad climate. It is not lack of experience. Almost every failure comes down to one single biological requirement that most people have never heard of, and that requirement is called stratification. Here is what that means and why it matters so much. Stone fruit trees evolved in climates with cold winters, right here across much of the United States. The seed inside the pit is biologically programmed, at a cellular level, to stay dormant until it has experienced a sustained period of cold and moisture that mimics a natural winter. This is a survival mechanism that nature built in over millions of years. If that seed germinated the moment the fruit dropped from the tree in late summer, the young seedling would emerge into hot, dry conditions and die long before the first frost. So instead, the seed waits. It senses cold and moisture over an extended period, and only when those conditions have been met for long enough does it allow germination to begin. There is one more thing worth knowing before we move on. If you are saving pits from early ripening fruit varieties, be aware that in those cases, the flesh of the fruit often matures before the embryo inside has fully developed. That means the germination rate from early season fruit can be significantly lower than from fruit that ripens later in summer. When you have the option, always choose pits from late season, fully ripe fruit for the best results. And beyond stratification, there is a second physical challenge. The hard outer shell surrounding the seed, called the endocarp, is built to be tough. It is designed to survive being dropped from a tree, sat on through a winter, and exposed to freeze and thaw cycles repeatedly. Knowing how to work with that shell correctly is what separates growers who consistently succeed from those who plant, wait, and get nothing. Now, let's get into the actual process. Stay with me through all three steps because each one builds directly on the last. And skipping even a small detail is what separates growers who end up with thriving trees from those who end up with nothing. Step 1 is pit preparation, and it starts with a simple test most guides never mention. Drop your pits into a bowl of clean water and let them sit for 15 to 30 minutes. Pits that sink are denser and carry a higher chance of germinating. Ones that float may be hollow or damaged inside. That said, this test is not perfect, so keep the floaters as backup and run them through the process anyway. After the float test, scrub every trace of fruit flesh off each pit using a stiff brush under running water. Any flesh left behind will rot during stratification and can kill the seed inside. Then set the pits on a paper towel away from direct sunlight and let them dry naturally for 2 to 3 days. For peaches and apricots, carefully crack the outer shell using a nutcracker or a cloth-wrapped hammer tap. You want a crack, not a crushed seed. The kernel inside is pale, smooth, and teardrop-shaped, and it will germinate significantly faster once extracted. For plums and cherries, the shell is thinner, so you can stratify the whole pit. For cherries, lightly sanding one end with fine sandpaper speeds things up noticeably. Step 2 is stratification, and this is the step that makes or breaks everything. Place your prepared pits in a sealable bag with a mix of 50% coarse sand and 50% vermiculite. Vermiculite is preferred because it is sterile and does not block airflow. The mix should feel slightly damp when squeezed, not wet enough to drip a single drop. Seal the bag loosely and place it in your refrigerator between 34 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Timing is different for each fruit. Peaches need 90 to 120 days, so start them in fall. Apricots need 80 to 100 days. Plums need 60 to 90 days. Cherries range from 4 weeks to 14 weeks depending on variety, so watch them closely. Almonds need just 40 to 60 days. Check every 2 weeks to make sure the medium stays slightly damp. The moment you see a small white root tip emerging, that pit is ready to plant. Do not wait for the calendar. The root tip is your signal. Step 3 is planting. Use a pot at least 8 inches deep with good drainage holes. Fill it with quality potting mix, combined with about 20% coarse perlite, so roots never sit in waterlogged soil. Before placing your germinated seed, add about 1 teaspoon of mycorrhizal inoculant to the bottom of the hole and set the seed directly on top so the emerging root contacts the fungi right from the start. Plant about 1.25 inches deep with the root tip pointing straight down. Water gently and place the pot in a warm spot with bright indirect light. Your seedling needs warmth and filtered light until it pushes out 4 to 6 true leaves, then gradually introduce it to direct morning sun. Now that you know the 3 steps, here is the extra edge that separates growers who end up with thriving trees from those who try once and walk away with nothing. Be deliberate about which pits you save. Always choose the largest, most perfectly formed fruit from the healthiest tree you can find. The embryo inside a well-nourished fruit carries greater energy reserves, and those reserves fuel your seedling from the moment it germinates until its first leaves can capture sunlight on their own. Always keep 3 to 5 pits per tree as insurance, because even with perfect technique, not every seed will come through. Here is something most growing guides have never addressed. Mycorrhizal fungi have co-evolved with plants for hundreds of millions of years, extending root systems far beyond what roots can reach alone and building resilience against drought and stress. In fresh potting mix, that natural fungal population is nearly non-existent. Mix about 1 cup of mycorrhizal inoculant into every cubic foot of your starting mix, and avoid soils already loaded with high phosphorus fertilizer because excess phosphorus suppresses the fungi before they get established. One more thing worth knowing. The fruit your tree eventually produces may not be identical to the fruit you ate. Seeds carry traits from both parent trees. Some growers see that as a disappointment. I see it as an opportunity. You might grow a variety that has never existed before, right there in your own backyard. Now, the 5 mistakes that end most attempts early. 1. Skipping or shortening stratification. A peach needs 90 to 120 days of cold with no shortcuts. 2. Making the stratification medium too wet. Squeeze a handful, and if water drips out, it is too wet. 3. Planting the germinated seed with the root tip pointing up. It always goes down. 4. Overwatering the seedling after it emerges. Water only when the top layer of soil is dry to the touch. 5. Moving the seedling outside too fast, without hardening it off. 2 weeks of gradual transition is not optional. There is one final piece most backyard growers overlook until it is too late. How you shape your tree in the very first dormant season determines how well it produces for the next 30 years. The right training system for every stone fruit is called the open center, sometimes described as a vase shape. You remove the central leader early and encourage 3 to 4 main branches to spread outward in an open, bowl-like form. This keeps sunlight reaching deep into the canopy and keeps air moving freely through the tree, which is your best natural defense against brown rot, one of the most destructive diseases affecting peaches and cherries across the United States. During the first dormant season, select 3 to 4 branches spaced evenly around the trunk at roughly 45 to 60 degrees from vertical, about 6 inches apart vertically, and remove everything else, including any strong upright growth, through the center. That one pruning session sets the structural foundation for decades of productive growth. And remember, peaches produce fruit on second-year wood, meaning how you prune this year directly determines how much fruit you get next year. Once your tree starts flowering, thin the developing fruit about 20 to 40 days after full bloom, so each peach is spaced 6 to 8 inches apart on the branch. The fruit that remains will be noticeably larger and sweeter. The next time you hold a ripe summer peach in your hand, remember what is inside that pit. A tree that could be feeding your family in 3 to 4 years and still producing 30 or 40 years from now. You do not need a nursery. You do not need expensive equipment. You just need the fruit you are already going to eat, the steps that are now clear to you, and the patience to let nature do what it was designed to do. Drop a comment below and tell me which fruit you are starting with. Subscribe to The Smart Gardener and turn on notifications. Next week, I am covering the grafting technique commercial nurseries use to cut the weight for fruit nearly in half. And if you are growing from pits, that video is exactly what you need next.